Hello everybody, you're watching Freedom Chronicles. My name is Despin, and I'm an issues activist and a community organizer here in the state of New Mexico. And today we're going to be discussing some of the benefits of right to work. Recently, RTW has become a hot issue here in the state of New Mexico, with several organizations pushing for its introduction and trying to spread this around the state. And we've seen what seems to be like a catching of wildfire around the state for RTW legislation. The first county to pass RTW legislation and hold public hearings was Sandoval County, with Commissioners J.C. Block and David Heil introducing, with heavy opposition from the unions. The unions lacked data in many of these hearings, and they lacked facts, and they resorted to character assassination and threats of lawsuit. The data simply doesn't support the union's myths under RTW. So we're going to discuss a little bit of the benefits and the actual facts surrounding the benefits that RTW legislation brings to the state of New Mexico. RTW has shown to bring more job creation, higher personal income, and greater economic growth and GDP growth than forced unionism states. So let's first discuss a little bit about what RTW is and what right-to-work legislation actually is. So, under forced union states, unions are able to come into a business, and they're able to only get 50% of the employees to vote whether they want to unionize or not. If that 50% vote is obtained, it goes to a union shop. The other 50%, whether they want to be a member of a union or not, are forced to become a member of the union, or if they don't want to become a member of a union, they have to pay what's called fair share fees. These fees are typically roughly about the same amount as the union dues they would have to pay as a member. What RTW legislation does is it prohibits unions from being able to charge these fair share fees. The argument that the union makes in regards to fair share fees is that under right to work, they are forced to collectively bargain for those who choose not to be union members without being paid. This simply isn't true. For many years, and this has been held up by the Supreme Court, unions are able to negotiate members-only contracts and are able to collectively bargain only for their members, making the fair share fee argument by unions invalid. So now let's talk about a little bit of the facts when it comes to RTW legislation. Let's talk about real compensation. First of all, the unions like to say that under unions you get higher pay. Well, based off of data from the U.S. Commerce Department and the U.S. Labor Department, we saw an increase of real compensation between 2000 and 2010 of 11.8 in right-to-work states, while we've only seen an increase under forced union states of 1.3%. They say that the unions create more jobs. However, based off of U.S. Labor Department information, we saw an increase of employment of 0.3% under RTW, while seeing a decrease of negative 0.5% under forced unionism states, showing that there's far greater job creation under RTW versus forced union states. In growth in non-farm private sector employees between 1999 and 2009, right-to-work states saw an increase of 3.7%, while forced union states saw a decrease of 2.8%. The national average, based off of data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, shows a national average of 0.3%, showing much greater of an increase in growth in non-farm private sector employees than both the national average and under forced union states. Growth in real manufacturing GDP between 2000 and 2008, RTW states saw an increase of 20.9%, while under forced union states they saw only an increase of 6.5%. And the national average, based off of the Bureau of Economic Analysis, shows a national average of 10.4%, more than double that of the national average under right to work, and much more than under forced union states. The percentage of growth in real manufacturing saw a drastic increase in right-to-work states versus both national average and forced union states. Percentage of growth of real personal income between 1999 and 2009, again dispelling the myth that you make more money under unions than RTW. Right-to-work states saw an increase of 28.3%, while under forced union states it only saw an increase of 14.7% and a national average of 19.5%. This comes based off of data, again, from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. With the cost of living adjusted per capita disposable personal income in 2009, right-to-work states saw an income of $35,543. Forced union states only saw $33,389, while the national average, based off the Bureau of Census, was $34,256. So again, under cost of living adjusted per capita disposable personal income, we saw a far greater increase under right-to-work states versus both forced union states and the national average. We'll talk about total growth of employment under RTW states. RTW states, based off of data from the Right to Work and Indiana's Economic Future and the Indiana Chamber of Commerce Foundation, as of January 2011, Right to Work states saw a 100% increase in employment growth, while the national average was only 71%, with non-RTW states showing only a 56.5% increase. Growth in per capita income, again dispelling the myth that unions create higher income than RTW states. We saw an increase in RTW states of 62.3%, a national average increase of 54.7%, and under non-RTW states, only an increase by 52.8%. Again, we show higher income under RTW than both the national average and under non-RTW states. This shows an increase of both employment growth and per capita income under RTW than non-RTW states. Let's talk about faster growth and higher real purchasing power under RTW. Growth in non-farm private sector payroll employment between 2003 and 2013 saw 130% higher growth in right-to-work states when compared to non-right-to-work states. Percentage real growth in private sector employee compensation between 2003 and 2013 saw 84% higher growth in right-to-work states when compared to non-right-to-work states. Lower rate of welfare recipients, the 2014 average. Forced unionism states, welfare rate is 150% greater than right-to-work states. Cost of living adjusted per capita, right-to-work states' disposable personal income. Right-to-work states saw 5.3% more income in right-to-work states when compared to non-right-to-work states. Another argument that's made by the unions when they are opposing RTW legislation, and you've probably seen a lot of this data put out by unions online and through any Google searches you may do if you Google RTW, and this argument by unions is that RTW legislation is simply union-busting legislation and is designed to weaken unions. However, this is not true, and if you go based off the data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we actually see an increase in union membership under RTW far greater than that of non-RTW states. In fact, non-RTW states show a decrease in union membership, while RTW states show an increase in membership. A little bit of the data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Florida, RTW state, saw a change in union membership of 54,000, an increase of 13.5%. In Texas, they saw a change in union membership of 37,000 under RTW, an increase of 7.3%. Nevada, under RTW, had a change in union membership of 24,000, an increase of 16.6%. This data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics completely dispels the myth that RTW legislation is simply union-busting legislation and designed to weaken unions, because the data reflects, based off of the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics, that there's actually drastic increase in union membership under RTW. And what's the reason for this increase? Because under RTW, it forces unions to need to have to provide value to union membership rather than forcing individuals and workers to pay for something that they don't necessarily find value in, or that by forcing them to pay money to political organizations and political issues that they do not align with. We're going to discuss an article that was put out by Dowd Muska from the Rio Grande Foundation here in New Mexico. It's a free market think tank here in New Mexico, the president of which is Paul Gessing, and we're going to discuss a little bit of this article from Dowd Muska. In his article, in his introduction, Dowd Muska states that for decades, states with right-to-work laws have consistently outpaced their compulsory union counterparts in job creation. The latest analysis by the National Institute of Labor Relations Research found that between 2003 and 2013, that private sector employment in RTW states grew by 16.2%, besting non-RTW states nearly 7 percentage points. RTW opponents argue that correlation is not causation, a criticism that has validity. Many factors, including taxes, regulations, energy costs, and transportation infrastructure and workforce skills, influence companies' location decisions. However, site selection professionals report that their clients prefer states where unionism is voluntary. David Brandon, president of the Dallas-based consulting firm, The Pathfinders, told Site Selection that about 35 to 40% of manufacturing enterprises in the automotive industry insist on operating in a right-to-work state. Another 20 to 25% say it is a very important factor and will be used as a second or third tier factor in site selection. More than half of our companies either make it a threshold or a very important factor in making a decision on where to locate a factory and other operations. In the financial services industry, shared services centers and document centers, where they utilize high numbers of highly trained individuals, roughly half of these companies have included right to work as a primary site selection factor. You will probably look at other states before you look at non-right to work states. It is more important than it was a decade ago. According to Mark Sweeney, a senior principal at McCollum Sweeney Consulting, the primary reason given for RTW favorability is workforce flexibility, which allows companies to compete more effectively and respond in a timelier manner to opportunities in their highly competitive global markets. When Indiana's Economic Development Agency asked corporations and site selection specialists how to improve the state's competitiveness, the issue of right to work was consistently raised as the single largest policy change that could improve Indiana's business climate. After Michigan passed its RTW law in 2012, Brett Polina of Polina Corporate Real Estate predicted that the state will no longer be eliminated because they are not a right-to-work state. As a result, there should be a significant increase in number of projects that Michigan receives because they are no longer being eliminated at the early stages of searches. Do site selection professionals claim stand to scrutiny? To test their assertions, this analysis applies several levels of disaggregation to the RTW jobs debate. At the broadest level, it examines quality jobs, middle and high compensation positions in manufacturing, IT, logistics, research and development, finance and engineering. No positions in fast food, convenience stores, elder care, landscaping, and retail sales are included. Further refinements are made for projects that involve border crossings, i.e. when a business headquartered in a non-RTW makes an investment in an RTW state, and vice versa. Relocations in which enterprises move entire facilities from one type of state to another are examined as well. Finally, the locations of foreign direct investment are scrutinized in order to determine which type of states draws the most jobs from firms based abroad. According to a 2014 study by the Brookings Institution, the average worker employed by a foreign-owned firm earned more than $77,000 in compensation in 2011, compared to just $60,000 for the average U.S. worker. In addition, foreign firms spent well over double the private sector average on benefits per worker. These firms pay higher wages because they tend to be highly productive and concentrate on capital-intensive, high-skilled industries. Even controlling for those characteristics, Foreign firms in the United States hire more skilled workers and invest more in worker training than domestic firms. Expansions, relocations, and greenfield investments explored herein were all posted on Area Development's website during the 6 months between January 1st, 2015 and June 30th, 2015. Founded in 1965, Area Development is considered the leading executive magazine covering corporate site selection and relocation. It is published quarterly with a circulation of 60,000. Its editor explained that items for Area Development's announcements listing are culled from RSS feeds and press releases that are emailed to us from various sources, including economic development organizations, PR agencies, businesses, etc. We usually highlight ones that represent large numbers of new jobs and or investment in industrial projects. Announcements included a mix of blue and white-collar employment. Many were in manufacturing, a sector that pays an average annual U.S. wage of $43,320. Non-factory positions varied greatly, but included work in IT, finance, research and development, business services, and logistics. Blue Bloodhound, a software firm that bills itself as Uber meets the transportation industry, was a representative of non-manufacturing job creation. In June, it announced the establishment of a North Carolina operation with customer service, accounting, and marketing positions. Salaries will vary by job, but will pay an average of $46,368 per year, exceeding the Catawba County average of $36,770. All announcements posted on Area Development's website were scrutinized. If a posting described an investment that did not add jobs, e.g. equipment upgrades for greater productivity, it was discarded. In addition, relocations within the RTW, non-RTW boundary were ignored. For example, a firm moving from suburban to downtown Chicago was not counted. Items listed by Area Development during the period studied total 92,923 positions. RTW states slated to receive 79.2% of employment, a sum not surprisingly far in excess of the 46.8% of private sector jobs found in RTW states. Of the 10 states that were to relocate the most jobs, 9 were RTW. It's notable that high population, non-RTW states such as California, New York, Illinois, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Washington, and Massachusetts did not rank in the top 10. Also interesting were the performances by 2 Rust Belt states, Indiana, which became RTW in 2012, and Michigan, which became RTW in 2013. Crossing the boundary. In total, 113 border crossing announcements were listed. 85% crossed from non-RTW to RTW. Job creation followed suit. In each of the 6 months examined, more positions were to be created in RTW states by non-RTW-based firms than vice versa. As for total jobs, RTW prevailed, garnering 92% of positions to be created. Prominent border crossing projects to benefit of RTW states included Minnesota-based Polaris announced the creation of up to 2,000 new jobs in Alabama. New York-based IBM chose Louisiana for a 400-worker development and innovation center. California-based Kaiser Permanente chose Georgia for a new IT campus and 900 jobs. Massachusetts-based EMC Corporation announced the addition of 700 positions in Utah. Illinois-based Northern Trust picked Arizona for a 1,000-employee regional operations center. 14 facilities announced journeys from non-RTW to RTW, while just 3 plan to go the other way. As for total job creation, RTW states garnered 98% of jobs. Investment from abroad. In total, 132 FDI announcements were listed. 73% were made in RTW states. 83% of jobs were slated for RTW states. Of the 12 nations that announced more than one FDI, 10 indicated a preference for RTW states. Prominent FDI projects announced for RTW states included Canada's CGIIT commenced construction on a services delivery center in Louisiana, a facility that will employ 400 people. Japan's Denso Manufacturing announced an expansion of its gasoline direct injection factory that will create 400 jobs in Tennessee. Spain's Gestamp Automoción, a manufacturer of components for automotive body frames, will expand in Tennessee workforce by 500 positions. Sweden's Volvo picked South Carolina for its first manufacturing facility in the Western Hemisphere. The factory will create 2,000 new jobs over the next decade and up to 4,000 new jobs by 2013. Germany's ZF Friedrichshafen AG announced the expansion of its Michigan-based technical center. It will enable the firm to undertake additional research and development services to design, develop, and test new vehicle components and systems, and employ 571 employees. Not a single foreign-based corporation moved a U.S.-based facility from a RTW state to a non-RTW state. The 3 FDI relocations to RTW states totaled 1,529 jobs. In conclusion, jobs grow faster in RTW states. That much has been established. But the data presented herein suggests that banning compulsory unionism does not foster a race to the bottom. To the contrary, worker freedom is correlated with employment in well-compensated industries. Furthermore, firms based in non-RTW states appear to favor expansion in and relocation to RTW states. And RTW states substantially outperform their non-RTW competitors in FDI. It's clear that while it is no panacea, a New Mexico right-to-work law would make the land of enchantment more attractive to companies looking to find sites for new facilities and or relocate existing assets. With employment in the state still below its pre-Great Recession peak, shifting New Mexico into the RTW camp is a sound and cost-free policy investment. Again, this article was written by Dowd Muska from the Rio Grande Foundation here in New Mexico, a free market think tank. Please feel free to check their website out, riograndefoundation.org, and you will be able to have access to this article and many more in regards to the benefits of RTW legislation. So just a little bit of a recap. We have shown through data from the U.S. Labor Department, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Bureau of the Census Bureau here in the U.S. Census Bureau. We have consistently showed data that supports the fact that RTW legislation would hugely benefit the state of New Mexico. It would hugely benefit workers here in the state, and it would give workers here within the land of enchantment the freedom to choose whether or not to join a union, who they pay their hard-earned money to. And with bringing RTW legislation, we have shown that we will in fact bring greater job creation, we will in fact bring greater increase in personal income, in GDP growth, and we will see drastic economic growth, and it will put us on the map for companies looking to relocate. All of our neighbors surrounding us, Texas, Arizona, Utah, are all right-to-work states. These states are seeing the economic benefits from right-to-work. They're seeing the job creation. They're seeing the economic growth. They're seeing the increase in personal income. They're seeing the increase in GDP. However, New Mexico, who has been forced union for over 45 years, has not had the opportunity to see any of these benefits. We are hugely lacking in job creation, in economic growth. We're lacking in most areas. We are at the top of every bad list. We're at the bottom of every good list. And it's time that we make a change here. It's time that we bring more jobs. We bring higher pay for our citizens within the state of New Mexico. It's time that we bring more economic development and economic prosperity to the land of enchantment. RTW legislation does not bust unions. In fact, it shows a growth in unions under right to work. RTW does not mean the freedom to work for less. RTW means the freedom to make more money with more jobs, with greater growth, and the freedom to choose whether you join a union or not. Please make no mistake, we are not anti-union. We are pro-freedom. We are pro-choice for workers to choose where they spend their hard-earned money. Thank you again. My name is Stephen Despin, an activist here within the state of New Mexico, and you've been watching Freedom Chronicles, and we hope to see you on our next vlog. Thank you for watching, and have a great day. And please, don't forget to subscribe and join our freedom fighter movement. Visit my website, StephenDespin.com, to be able to join, or click subscribe below to become a member of the freedom movement here in New Mexico and throughout our country. Let's make some change, and let's be the change we want to see. We are the movement that's pushing all the limits. Let's push these limits and bring greater economic prosperity to our fellow citizens, our fellow co-workers, our families, and our children. Thank you. Have a great day.